Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out OTheAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything OThe Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/OThe Anthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Well, of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/OThe Anthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Cheek.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at OThe Anthem on all your social networks. Ravens.
That was something.
Woo.
You know, sometimes I worry, like, at seeing this day come up on the calendar, Ravens at Rams.
Yep.
So I would be able to see it.
Yep.
And knowing that, like, I could plan to be off this day, I could dedicate the whole day to enjoying the game in the stadium and everything like that. And hopefully the Ravens don't disappoint me.
Yep.
Like, I didn't think that the Ravens were going to lose per se because I felt like they were the better team.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to just make sure that, like, I just didn't want to go in there and get embarrassed,
well,
you know, because it would have been so hard for me to have been so excited about this whole thing, and then just the disappointment. But
you must be so
thankfully we
disappointed.
dodged a bullet.
Must be so disappointed with that result. So here's one of the issues. The problem with Monday Night Football on the West Coast is that the game starts at 5:15 in the afternoon. 4 hours before I usually leave work.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. I hope all the yellow sun is empowering you today. Today I want to talk to you about what is good in the name of Superman. We all have felt the power within us as the rays of the sun have allowed us great blessings. But there's the evil afoot, and no, it's not from the Luthers, not from the Brainiacs, and certainly not the Zards. No, the evil I must tell of you today is a lack of knowledge, an evil that can be eradicated with the help of your tithings. I recently walked the streets not far from here and encountered something I feel you need to know about. There was a young boy, maybe 13 years of age, who went to take his cellular phone out of his pocket. Well, his hand slipped and the phone went flying and plummeted to the ground below us. And that child, in a moment of rage, screamed out, "Super damn it!" I know. It shocked me too. So I approached the lad and I said unto him, "Why do you curse the name of our hero in a moment like this?" He replied, "I was upset, and I did not mean no offense, Pastor Phineas Bobowski." I then told him the story I plan to tell you now. I know I tell you that earthly possessions don't mean much in the afterlife. I mean, Kal-El only made his journey to Earth with what later became his cape after all. A letter from Jimmy Olsen to the Daily Planet. For he loved her so much, her breath now escaped, and the afterworld upon her. Superman with a bellow held Lois in his arms, then in a moment of crisis flew upward toward his father, before encircling against the rotation of the earth. He turned and turned until the earth spun backwards, reversing time and saving the life of Lois Lane. In Kal-El's name we pray. The story is about doing things bigger than yourself and spreading the message to a backwards world, which is why I would like to introduce you to the Steel Initiative. The Steel Initiative is a $50 million project that this fellowship will undertake with your contributions. Much like the child dam in the name of our hero allowed, there are many people who in this world who have no clue who Superman is or what he can do for you, and we aim to spread that message all across the globe. If you are a new viewer, I say welcome. And most of the gospel I look to spread can be found in my books. Laser Beam Sight, 27 Ways Superman Helped Me See the Light. Alien Ways, the guide to personal fulfillment through Superman. And Where Do I Pray When All the Phone Booths Are Full? The message is clear throughout all of my tidings. If you have faith in Superman, if you lavish your son upon us, then Superman will lavish that son back on you in unbelievable ways. If you believe enough, if you send your son to us, you will find that son come back to you.
It used to be that the infield was where all the rowdies and the drunks and the people who were bringing in like their own kegs and stuff like that was happening. And there were urinal races and...
Well, and that the ESPN story I saw was, as you know, this week is the 142nd running of the Preakness infield urinal races. And I was like... And for those who don't know, that's when drunkards get on top of a set of porta potties.
Yeah.
And try to run across while people chunk beers at them.
Right.
Usually catching a full beer in the head and tumbling off.
Now, also remember that there are people in these urinals at the time somebody is running over top. So God forbid if you're in there, take shit, which I already have to imagine is one of the most horrifying things in the world. It's just like, do you like Fogo de Chao? How about a $500 gift card? Thank you.
By the way, I saw
You seem like a man who enjoys meat. Here is a Fogo de Chao gift card. The worst part is going to the buffet before they start walking around with the food. You get anxious. You go into Fogo de... Okay, so this is hashtag fat kid problems. But when you go to a Fogo de Chao, you walk in, they seat you, they give you your coat. You know, like you order a Coke or a drink or whatever. They take that, and they'll be like, all right, people will be around eventually. And it seems like they skip you the first couple times. Like, you're new.
Right.
Like, they don't come right to the table. They're just like, oh, ran out. Got to go get some more.
Yeah.
Got to get some more lamb. And then you're looking at, like, the little spread up there. Like, the buffet with, like, the sliced Oscar Mayer ham or something like that.
Right.
And you're just like, oh.
That looks good.
Looks so good. And you fill up on fruit and lunch meats and...
Amateur status.
That kid's
and
dead.
breads and stuff like that. And then you come back and you're eating that, and then you see the meat people come by and you're just like, green everything.
Yeah.
And then you eat 9 metric tons of meat, like in like one sitting, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why did I do it like that? And then you read it, and then you're just like, all right. If I sit here for a couple minutes, maybe I'll get the desire to eat more.
This week on the Oh the Anthem podcast, we're talking about everything that happened in the 2010s. It's the decade that saw us move from New York to Baltimore to Los Angeles. We're going to be talking about all the things that happened in our lives, as well as everything that happened in music, entertainment, politics, news, everything. We're encapsulating the entire decade before we get out. You got to come check out the show because it is going to be evergreen. Maybe we'll even throw some predictions as to what the 2020s will look like. All of that and more coming up now on the Oh the Anthem podcast. Merry Christmas. This is Corey, and this is the O the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, I think the mics are not live. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob.
I think you just muted them again.
No, it's not coming.
It's down there, isn't it?
Oh, hey, you're right. I'm looking at the wrong thing. It's been a long day, folks. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to episode 298 of the
That's what
O the
happens
Anthem
when you have a
podcast.
2-show day.
And started at 5:30 a.m. today. Woo! Coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Ooh, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way to find it, anchor.fm/O the Anthem. It's the easiest way to find us on whatever platform you want to listen to us on. Or you can just listen to us on Anchor. That works as well.
And, of course, you can find more O The Anthem at O The Anthem on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/O The Anthem. You can find all the videos, including the podcast, but so much more at youtube.com/O The Anthem. And everything O The Anthem related, including the merch store, is available at otheanthem.com.
Yes, indeed.
And, of course, we are live right now all across the world. Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch. Welcome, everyone.
Twitter, too. If you're on Twitter,
Twitter
and you just get to the top of your timeline and then it says, Oh, the Anthem Live, come check us out for a little bit.
That's us right there.
Yeah.
And you can find us all over the place. You're not going to want to miss out, and it's really hard to. You kind of have to avoid it. Anyway, so.
Yes. So we're recording 2 episodes today.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that has happened in the last week, we're not going to be touching on, obviously. Because,
Yes.
unaware of what happens in the future.
Let's take a big guess.
Trump is impeached.
Trump impeachment still ongoing.
Yeah.
Ravens clinched first place. Let's hope.
I either won or lost my fantasy championship. So
yeah, there is a chance that the Posse League Fantasy Football Trophy is coming back to the West Coast. How are you going to get it back here if you do win, by the way?
I was actually thinking, because I get free checked bags with my Alaska card, I might just buy a full-size suitcase, and even though I'm not going to fill it with everything I need, I'll just have space for, like, things that need to come back, like maybe a trophy.
Well, hey, let me know if you got extra space. I'll go ahead and throw some stuff in there from Christmas, because right now my plan is to ship stuff back to myself, because here's how we do things.
This is a conversation I had with my family. I was just like, just send anything that I can't put in a suitcase back here. Like, just have it come here. It's fine. Like, I'm an adult. I don't need to, like, actually open the thing under the tree, you know? Like,
so I had that talk with my parents. There's a lot of awesome stuff we've been talking about getting. I want to get a mobile light kit and green screen to make it a little easier to do stuff. I'm thinking maybe we should get a ring light. I don't know if you guys have noticed the visual difference, but I think it's night and day, just an improvement. So maybe you get one of those, maybe some new cameras. I've made a couple suggestions, but I was just like, listen, if you buy it and have it arrive at my apartment sometime after I depart, and then you put a box under the tree with a picture in it, that's fine. Because you know what's more inconvenient? That you
just
order
a printout of wherever you got it on Amazon.
And I'll be excited, like, oh, hey, that's great. This is waiting for me when I get back.
Yeah.
What's more inconvenient is for you to order it on Amazon, have it shipped to your house for me to open on Christmas, and then have to ship it back to the West Coast where I pay for the shipping, not free shipping with Amazon Prime. But God help my parents. I love them, and they're probably not going to do that. And by the way, not opening gifts on Christmas. Why?
Because it's Wednesday, and that's the
no.
Lord's...
Maxon won't be there until Wednesday, so we're going to wait and open gifts on Wednesday. Wait, Thursday.
Wednesday is Christmas Day.
Yeah, Thursday. Yeah. We're going to open on Thursday because he won't be there Wednesday. And I'm like, so listen, I'm down. We're making compromises. You know, he doesn't really know when Christmas is, so we're going to pretend it's Christmas Day.
Yeah.
In the future, we'll have to do that whole like Santa came here too, and then we just left all the gifts unopened. But you listen, as long as we're compromising, can we just compromise and, put a picture in a box?
Max and I imagine is going to be the type who like walks over and he's just like, wait a minute, today isn't Christmas. What?
I mean,
what
he
gives?
Might. Apparently he is, he's 2 years old and he is saying 4-syllable words. He's putting together complete thoughts. Like he will baby talk to my sister and she hates it.
Yeah.
Because she knows he can actually speak. Like when nobody's paying attention, he'll be like, I want a sandwich. Which I know sounds like easy, but that is a complicated sentence for a 2-year-old to put together. But then when she's like asking him stuff, he'll be like, I sandwich now. And she's like, I know you're just messing
I
with
know
me,
you know
shit.
what those words.
When he gets caught on camera. So if you guys follow me on TikTok, you may have seen me do some funny videos with him, and that's because when he doesn't know he's on camera, he's super funny.
Yeah.
And then when he knows he's on camera, he's just like
Clams up.
I'm gonna just be like I don't know what to do with my hands.
I know the feeling, Maxon.
Yeah.
I feel like I have people laughing all the time, and then as soon as the podcast starts rolling, crickets.
Although if you guys hung around for the weight screen, which by the way, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
People were asking. I turn it on, I see the weight screen, I don't know how long I have until the episode starts because sometimes we turn it on like half hour before we get started. Now we have a countdown, so you can actually see. Hey, I got 5 minutes. I can get my chips. I can get my popcorn. I can get my soda. I'll go sit and get ready for the episode. Well,
and the fact that it's live everywhere means that like if you want to put it on your TV and like sort of walk around and do chores or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know why you're doing that at midnight East Coast time, but
yeah, because it's on YouTube now live, especially, you could probably put it up on your Roku and just sit it on your big TV and watch, just like a TV show.
Let our dulcet tones bring you to sleep.
This lull you right to sleep. Or Twitch.
I mean, that would be beneficial too, because then they do fall asleep at some point, but it continues playing all the way to the end, so we get the metrics.
We love those sweet analytics.
Because we don't really care if people listen.
Just
probably would be better off for us if people didn't listen.
Yeah, especially
But
for careers.
If it just made it look like a lot of people listened, then that would be great.
Yeah, and you might be saying to yourself, I don't have a Roku, but I do have a PlayStation. Hey, we're on Twitch. You can pull up the Twitch app on your PlayStation and watch the whole show there. It's fantastic. All of it.
No
counts.
more excuses.
Yeah, I have that yearly post reminder from like 9 years ago now that was just like, how can I support the author in my life? You don't even have to buy books. Just, like something on Amazon. Leave a review of a book you never read. Just, all of the little thing, like share posts on social media. All of those cost nothing, and they all help out authors in your life. Well, how do you help out podcasters in your life? Just play the thing. Put it on mute. Play it all the way through. Make YouTube think that we are really important.
I mean, I would also say that like if you give like a retweet or something like that, those things help a lot too. Because like I'll go onto Twitter and I'll just be scrolling through, and if somebody goes like, "Oh my god, I just heard this album. Everyone needs to hear it." Yeah. It's artist X. Then I'm just like, all right, maybe I'll check out this artist X.
Yeah, I got an artist X, little X Yachty. How you feel about that?
Nah, I'm good. Don't need it.
Oh, speaking of things from the 2000s or 2010s. Oh my god. Anyway, but before we get into the decade in review, this, of course, is the last show before Christmas. You guys are hearing this if you're not watching live. You're hearing it on Monday the 23rd or Tuesday the 24th.
Yeah.
Right? Tuesday the 24th. So that means that although we are coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway, we are actually both in Maryland right now.
Yep.
I think, yeah, I'll be in Maryland by the 24th. So, what do you got planned for the Christmas holiday? Anything big, important?
Well, we're flying into Maryland, and then it sounds like we're going up to New York for a few, and then back to Maryland, and like I wanted to be home for the Ravens game. Mm-hmm. Even though it's on the road, I still like to watch with the family and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't know, just sort of like whatever comes up, comes up. I mean, there's no like solid plans right now, but Christmas Day, I imagine is going to be spent between Rachel's household and mine, and we'll just fill in all the spots with whatever people want to throw at us, I guess, in the meantime.
And when are you headed back?
The 29th.
Oh, me too. Okay.
But the shitty part is that all the cheapest flights are super early in the morning. So I'm leaving, like I'm in town on the 29th, but like I'm leaving at like 5:30 a.m. So it's not like I can do anything.
I have not prepared. I still have not booked my flight because that's how I travel, I guess now. And I was noticing the same thing. I was like, oh, it's almost... I mean, like,
the thing that confounds me about air travel is that like, I understand that days are more expensive at certain, certain days are more expensive than others, and certain times are more expensive than others. But it's hard to rationalize how something fluctuates in price so greatly based off of like little tiny, like, so I want to fly out on the 29th, but I was looking around to see if there was a flight that left at like 9 p.m. Because then I could spend pretty much the whole day. I could watch the Ravens game. I could go back. I would still be in LA at like, basically, 10 10 p.m. Like
right, because we get the time back as we fly back across.
You could go to sleep. You get up the next day. Like, for the people who have to work, you're just right back in it. Like, you can get into the swing. But the difference between like a flight that left at 5:30 in the morning and one that left at 9 p.m. was like, $1,700.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
well, here's the thing.
How does that even make sense? Like,
because everyone is thinking the same thing you are.
Yeah.
They're thinking, I want to stay as long as I can and then fly back to the West Coast.
Right. But I mean, like, that difference in price is not worth it for what we're talking about. Like it's.
Listen, welcome to capitalism, my friend. Supply and demand. There's only so many flights, and if people want them, they're going to charge for them.
It's the worst.
Yes, it absolutely is the worst. We should talk about that in that decade in review, too. But yeah, so I will be in Maryland for a week, a little less than a week, from Monday the 23rd through 28th or 29th. At some point, I'm taking a flight home, home being here. Now, skipping the typical New Year's trip this year, I think instead going to do a birthday trip. So that does postpone the tropical travel for 10 days. Yeah. I think my birthday falls on a Friday this year.
Oh.
I want to say. Actually, let me confirm that. Because that was one of the reasons someone convinced me to go for a birthday instead. And now that I say that, I feel like that might actually have been a lie. And someone might have lied. Nope, it is. It's a Friday.
Oh, good.
Save the PTO days and just leave Thursday to go like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday somewhere, come back, maybe take off Monday too, half day Monday, something like that.
Show up late Monday kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And, of course, I open, so late for me is literally anything after, 10 a.m. when everyone else shows up. By the way, try to leave. I realized this is why people. So we do the podcast. I usually leave work. I attempt to leave work at 4:30 on Mondays, which, by my calculations, having started the day at 8:30 in the morning, today it started even earlier than that at 8 o'clock, is an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
Especially because I don't have a chance to grab lunch. There's nothing. I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, it's 4. I got to get ready to wrap things up. Most of my staff shows up between 10 and 10:30. So when they see me rolling out at 4, they're like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
6-hour day today? 5-hour day with lunch? I'm like, hey, idiots, you all get to take lunch. I do not.
Yeah.
And also, I'm here 2 hours before you get here. So, yes, it seems like a 6-hour day to you. 8-hour day for me. And I'm here 12 hours every other day. What the hell do you want from me?
I remember once at Nelson's, I showed up at like 9 o'clock one day, and people were just like, what the hell, Corey? Think you can show up 2 hours late for your shift? And I'm just like, this is my 97th day in a row without a day off. I think I'm allowed every once in a while to show up a little bit late, especially when it's okay with everybody who is like, can okay this decision.
And I get the text on Sunday morning. Hey, I'm headed to the office. Can you let me in when I get there? Hey, can you let me in when I get there? Then my phone rings from the gate phone 3, 4, 5 times. Finally, I wake up and I see it and I let people in. I'm like, okay, so I understand that you were up at 9 a.m. and wanted to go into the office to work. That doesn't mean I was up at 9 a.m. on Saturday or on Sunday morning. And all I want in this world is just to sleep. Honestly, I just want a good night's sleep. And I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So I've decided I think what I need to do from now on is to leave something at work. Because I also noticed that people know that I'm gone and or know that I'm there based on like my little area where I sit. Mm-hmm. So I think I might just make a decoy computer out of cardboard and then just set that up and then sneak out.
To be fair, I have my old Pixel XL that's like clean, like it's not broken like yours was.
Yeah.
So maybe we could just leave that on the desk.
And they think that I'm like, oh, he must be coming back. It's right there.
He just stepped away because his phone's still here. There's no way he left without that.
And I'm out. Nobody knows.
Just all day, like people walking around going like, Rob!
So, today,
like yelling,
I actually
yelling around the place.
I actually got out the door at 5:15, which was amazing. And someone followed me into the parking lot all the way to the car. And I've had before where I usually will take an Uber home. I have had somebody run out to the curb where I am ordering the Uber and be like, hey, before you go. I'm like, what are the odds that this is going to have to be tonight versus tomorrow? So I've started making a deal with people. I will do whatever you're asking me to do. And if it turns out that this absolutely had to be done tonight, like let's say, for instance, get a contract out. I have to get it out tonight. Okay, great. If they sign by 10 a.m. tomorrow, I will pay you $100. However, if they do not sign by 10 a.m. tomorrow, you pay me $500. Do you still want me to stop what I'm doing and do this for you right now?
Yeah.
And you know how many people have taken that?
None.
Absolutely none. Because they all know it's worthless. Everything's worthless. But anyway, so yeah, I'll be home. Relaxing. Do you find going home to be that relaxing?
Yes and no. I don't get as much shit as you do. So, I feel like it's relaxing to like be around family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say that more than anything, it just sort of feels like a comfort that comes over me. Like being home, being in Baltimore sort of gives me a certain degree of comfort. I mean, it doesn't give me like safety, but it gives me like this feeling like, you know, when you like you don't have like your childhood home anymore, but like when you step into like your old home and you're just like, oh, everything's just the way it was before. Like, oh my God, there's some new market here on the corner that wasn't here last time I was here. Like there's little things that like sort of like give you like a sense of time has passed in a place that you know.
Now we do have that. Like when I was home for Thanksgiving, Denton has a Taco Bell now.
Oh my God, what?
Moving on up. But it closes at midnight. Which, by the way, defeats the purpose of having a Taco Bell.
Taco Bell shouldn't open till midnight.
So I saw it in the afternoon as I drove past, and I was like, ooh, fantastic. Because, you know, my family eats dinner at 5:30, so by my normal like dinner time at 11, I'm hungry again, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run out and get some Taco Bell. I drove all the way down there and pulled in, and like all the lights are off, and I'm like, well, maybe this is one of those deals where
they turned off the lights on the inside, but the drive-thru
still open. Pulled around. It said, welcome to Taco Bell. Played me a little video, and then I sat there. And I will swear to you, I was not intoxicated in any way, but I probably sat there for 5 minutes waiting for the person to come on because I figured maybe the person in the Taco Bell was inebriated.
Or busy.
Could perhaps. I mean, there was nobody in line.
Maybe they didn't hear the bell.
Could be, yeah. And maybe it should be a dead giveaway that there was nobody in line at a Taco Bell at 2 o'clock in the morning. Or, 12 o'clock at night. It wasn't even that. It was a little after 12, probably like 12:30.
Yeah.
And so I pulled around to the window. Nope, nobody in the store. They're closed. So I had to make do with some Royal Farms chicken, which, by the way,
that's what I'm looking forward to.
It's a good second place.
I think that's the thing about going home to me means getting to do the things that I don't get to do in LA.
Yeah.
Like I get Royal Farms and I get like authentic seafood and I get like Natty Bow, which isn't like something that I'm like, like, oh, I can't wait to have that wonderful Natty Bow on my lips, but it's like I never get it. So
it's nice to have.
Yeah.
I like the crab cheese curls at Royal Farms. I get the chicken and the crab cheese curls, and I'm like, there's no reason why these are not everywhere, except for somebody would look at that and be like, that's disgusting. Why would I want crab cheese curls? You're wrong. You're all wrong. They're delicious.
Because you're thinking that it's with crab, like it's made with crab, but it's just the crab seasoning.
It's just Old Bay.
Yeah.
You call them Old Bay cheese curls, really is what they are, and they're delicious. But yeah, so there are a couple things I'm looking forward to, but in the end, it's just like, I'm going to go to the pub.
Yeah.
I will end up going to probably 3 movies that week because there's not a lot else to do. Just go to the movies. And I'll probably record some stuff and write a little bit as much as I can. Mm-hmm. Maybe add a new word to that screenplay that I started in Vegas and have not touched since then.
I would say that a lot of it probably is about there's not a lot going on the Eastern Shore. So that might impact your ability to do things. I mean, like when I'm on the Eastern Shore, I like going to the pub too.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much because that's the thing to do on the Eastern Shore.
Like, yep.
In your little pocket of the shore, that's the high night out.
I had not been home since last Christmas when I was there for Thanksgiving. And you see people that you know, and I used to see you all the time. And now I realize how boring life is there because I'm like, hey, what's been up? Like, oh, I'm still working out at that place and still doing that job. And I'm seeing so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, you were seeing her when I was here last time. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Did you hear about the Taco Bell?
There's Taco Bell here now. Walmart's open 24 hours again. Great. But it's like it's one of the things I think we'll get into in the decade review. Like you just grow, and sometimes you grow. Sometimes
Dundalk's kind of like that too. I always find that like even though Dundalk is so close to like a major metropolitan city, and it's got like Taco Bells and McDonald's and stuff like that, it still feels like you're sort of separated away from the rest of the community.
Yeah,
because like anytime I go to Dundalk, it's somebody going like well they just opened up a new Walmart not too far away from here, and it's just like
wow,
it's been the talk of the town. It's
well, okay.
Well, I can see why that would be.
Of course, yeah. But it's the kind of thing where like when you're in LA, you can only think about getting away from LA, but then you go places like home, and you're like, oh God, please get me back to LA. Just these people are too nice and they talk too much, and I want my pretentious assholes again.
The idea of New York, though, I feel like is a with the little stop in New York here. At the beginning, like I feel like I've genuinely missed New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a certain energy that just being within the city limits of New York provides.
There's an energy that a 4 a.m. closing time will give you. Yes. Which is dangerous for people we know.
It's just going to be nice that I'm going to be able to go visit and see that again, because it's one of those, it's like Vegas now. Like before, I only used to be able to go to Vegas once every 10 years or so. And I felt like flying out there, but now I can go all the time. And New York I could go there anytime I want. And I used to go there multiple times a year, or, like all the time when I went to school there.
Yeah.
But like, there's like this feeling of like, I can't go there anymore. So now this is more of a excursion.
Yeah. I'm upset that I'm not going to have my decompress vacation, but plus minus of this, construction is almost done at work, but it won't be done until the first week of January. And I feel like this might be the best course of events. That
week of January 2021? Or
no, we are almost there. They're doing final installs. There's marble floors. The walls are painted.
I still feel like if I drove by tonight, I'd still see an alarming amount of plastic hanging up.
Oh, no. No.
Oh.
And there's some fancy signage lit up outside.
Oh.
Very fancy.
Maybe I'll have to make a little trip.
I mean, ignore the trailer outside with the bathroom in it. The bathrooms are coming. That's the last thing that we're doing. But no, so I had, when I was mulling over whether or not I should just like go on vacation, forget about the birthday thing, I was thinking the worst thing that could happen is I go take 5 or 6 days somewhere, I really decompress, and I'm like back in a good headspace. And then I come in and I have like the last rushed week of construction, which undoes all of that. And then it's like, great, we're in a new space. Now I need another vacation. And now I'm still planning on going somewhere. So maybe it is the best that I'll come back and whip everybody into shape and get stuff done and then go on vacation after that.
It's so weird. The differences between the way our lives operate is that like I sort of get that decompression time just by not being hired for things. Like, I'm not in charge of when I go to work. So I have to be hired to do so. So like, there's times like, what was that? Like, in the middle of the year here during the summer, it felt like for 2 months straight, I was working every single day.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man, all I want is one day to handle all this like business shit that I just have like hanging around. And now like, finally I've gotten to the point where like it's slowed down a little bit and I still have this stuff that I need to get to. And I'm just like, oh, well, a little bit later in the day, I'll get to it. Just keeps getting pushed off until
Motherfucker.
It's like you finally get the day to catch up.
That must be nice. Yes. Sleeping till you want to get up and then.
Today was the perfect. I woke up. This happens sometimes. I wake up. I have 190,000 notifications on my phone. So like I'm laying in bed just like swiping through like Twitter, like Rise of Skywalker is about to come up. I'm just like yeah.
Tinder, Bumble, all this. Right?
Going through all my notifications, and then it takes so long for me to get through them that I eventually fall back asleep with my phone still in my hand, and then I wake up. Like today, I woke up at like 12:30 or something like that. I like, I was just like, fuck, I fell asleep again. Like, how did this happen?
I was up at 5:30 this morning and then drove to LAX.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you really want to start a Monday off right, let me tell you how to do it.
Drive to LAX.
Wake up at 5:30, drive to LAX, and then drive from LAX to Hollywood, where there is no good way to get there. I'm cutting through like La Cienega and then Beverly, and it's
another. as much as Baltimore can be confusing sometimes, it's pretty simple. There's a big circle going around it. You can take this highway, this circle all around the city, and get dropped off close to wherever you need to be.
Yep.
And then maneuver your way to where you need to go. If you're going east-west, there's 40 that you could take
Almost all the way
to
to
like
the
cut
city?
across.
Yep.
But other than that, like, you know, it's just sort of going around the loop. LA is like, I don't know, like there's nothing that connects like the west side to anything in the middle. Like you can take the 10 East to like get towards the 101 and then go up to Hollywood, which if you were like looking at a map is like going like north and then east and then north. Like it's doing like this weird, there's no like as the crow flies route.
And the 10 in the morning,
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
To the 110, which is worse. And then you get a little break because it's only a little terrible on the 101 to get to Hollywood. Or I could take the 405 through the Cahuenga Pass to the 101 and then back through the mountains again, which I've never contemplated suicide, but even thinking about making that drive at 7 o'clock in the morning, I think I would have just gotten the thing up to speed and then just rolled out the door and just hoped for the best. See what happens. But it makes me think of one of my favorite podcasts, Hidden History of LA, where they talk about the Beverly Hills freeway that was supposed to run from the 2 through the 101 and I think like, oh, Hollywood is so beautiful with all of the old houses. And then I have a morning like today and I'm like, you know what? Plow it all down. Just, I need a freeway from the 405 that takes me to Hollywood. I don't care what you have to mow down in the process. Just whatever it takes.
It would mean the end of the La Brea tar pits. Let it be.
Good. They've had an 8 million year run. It's long enough. And you know, it wouldn't have to be the end of it.
Like, to get to Hollywood.
La Brea
have it underneath the freeway.
La Brea tar pits would just be a like the DMV in downtown, where it's just like always shady because it's underneath the freeway. And it's like, well, yeah, here's some pictures of La Brea back in a few years ago. Like, why is there sun? Oh, yeah, that was before the 9-lane freeway came in over top of us.
I'm just so excited that at some point in the next 4 to 5 months, I'll get my sticker, my California EV sticker.
Yeah.
And then everyone will be laughing when I'm driving on my HOV lanes.
Yeah, so you'll be moving at a clip, 45 miles an hour compared to the 20 miles an hour everybody else is traveling.
Moving a brisk 30.
So not to be too hyper local, which no one in LA got any of that. Here's my comparison that I always make. Right before we moved, I lived 35 minutes from work. I also lived 35 miles from work.
Yeah.
Right now, I live 35 minutes from work, and I work 3 miles away. That is what it is. That's the city of LA in a nutshell.
Well, to me, it's amazing that, like, so, like, I used to, coming from Nelson's to Ridgely's Delight was 14 miles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it would take, I was always going against traffic.
Right.
So, like, I was always moving a lot quicker than the people who were trying to leave the city at night and get to the city in the morning. So I would, you know, make it in 20-ish minutes or something like that. But I keep thinking about, like, I'm 14 miles away from, like, Santa Monica, like, right now. And there's not a chance in the world that I'd ever get there in under 20 minutes unless it's, like, 4 a.m.
Yep. And there was no way.
And if I'm pushing it, too. Like, it's not like I could leisurely get there in 20 minutes if I wanted. Like, it would be like, I'd have to be pushing 80 to get there.
You got to Nelson's in 20 minutes in a car. If you had to take public transportation, well, I'll get there eventually.
It's anybody's guess at what time the light rail decides to show up.
I don't know why. It just reminded me of the morning that it wasn't Facebook because we didn't have Facebook Messenger then. It might have just been text where you're like, 3 trains have not shown up. What the hell is this? I got to work 3 hours late.
The Baltimore Light Rail. Where schedule is merely a suggestion.
And meanwhile, I would run up to the train because it would be sitting in the station and it would pull away and I'd be like, I'm going to be late for class. And another train would just pull up right behind it. And I'd be like, okay, I'll get on this one, I guess. I don't know, you know. Although it did run on the street, so there's a chance that it could have gotten hijacked by somebody. I don't want to say, you know, it's Baltimore.
12 o'clock boys are taking over. Moving on up to trains.
The train's going down. There's just 2 bikes in front.
Light rail just with the front wheels all the way. Oh,
gosh. Anyway,
yes.
so in conclusion, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Come find us if you need us.
Yeah, if you're in Maryland, if you're listening in Maryland, come find us there. We will be in New York next weekend.
Yeah.
So as you're listening to this, 2 days ago, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching it live, well, you have a chance. So Corey, who's watching live on Facebook right now, has a chance to meet us. That's it. But if you're anywhere else, if you're watching on any of the other sources, you can find us in New York next weekend, which would be the 20th, 21st, 22nd in New York. So come check us out there. Otherwise, catch us in Maryland. If you're from the East Coast, we always love to see the fans say hello.
Well, a lot of those fans are family and friends.
Also,
too.
that's true too.
Well, I mean, not family. Literally, I don't think literally anyone in my family listens to this podcast.
I have warned my parents not to listen to the podcast. And my sister used to listen, but now she's got a toddler in the car, so it is not appropriate for children.
I think there's time, like Rachel listens on the live stream from time to time just to get a taste. But listening to
Thank God.
the idea of going through with me and you just driving her to work would be mind-numbing torture for her.
Probably so. I mean, she's got to deal with it all other times that are not the podcast, so it's
She
probably
gets
better.
enough.
She's got enough abuse. But what was I going to say? Oh, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Kwanzaa. Is it Merry? Merry Kwanzaa?
I thought it was happy.
Happy Kwanzaa? Happy Kwanzaa. That sounds right. Or Happy Christmas if you're in Europe. Wherever holiday you celebrate, I hope that yours is more joyful than mine certainly will be. Do you have to go to church on Christmas?
No, not anymore.
Yeah, so you guys aren't even the Easter Christmas Catholics anymore.
No, we've part of the it's a little bit more than a decade now, but part of the last decade has been the Catholic Church continuing to try and drive people away from coming to their services with their crazy antics.
I mean, you do live down the street from one of the most beautiful Catholic churches
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
in the world.
Yeah.
That isn't in Rome.
Yeah.
How many times?
Basilica's pretty nice, though. I've gone to the Basilica. a
Oh,
couple
yeah, I
times.
mean, so yeah, in both cities in which you
Yeah.
have lived in this decade, you've lived very close to a very beautiful cathedral and or basilica, depending on the city. And how many times have you been to the LA Cathedral?
None.
You've never been there?
No.
I thought you did mass there once.
No.
There's gonna have to be a lot of what's it called? The
Penance?
No, but when you go in to get the penance, confession.
Oh, confession?
Yeah, there's a long confession session before Corey can go back into church.
I feel like I wouldn't be doing myself any favors either if I just walked in. Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. I haven't been to church in, I don't know, probably 16 years or so.
Now that's not true because
It's just like,
you used to go to mass at Hofstra, which wasn't a church, but it was still mass.
that was 2002. So that was like 20 years ago.
Yes, that would be 18 years ago now.
Yeah.
We are old. So that's a great transition to a little bit of the decade in review.
Yeah. So, yes. Let's I put music first on the thing. I don't know if that really
Well, I say we just transition to the personal stuff because, as you pointed out, because I needed to be disheartened a little bit more coming into this episode, we're going to be in our 40s in this next decade, which means that we were in our mid-20s coming into the 2010s, and we're exiting in our mid-30s. Mm-hmm. And where did the time go? So, personally speaking, this time, 10 years ago, I was in law school at Hofstra University. I was just about to transfer to UB. Mm-hmm. And that means that we are coming up on the 10th anniversary of moving in together.
Yeah.
Which it is not as salacious as it may sound on the surface. We moved into Ridgely's Delight in January of 2010.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot the exact year, but
Yep. That's
Yeah.
a decade ago now.
God.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Now, and reminding everyone who may have missed, the first 10 episodes or so, it was the kitchen at Ridgely's Delight where Corey first suggested that we do this crazy thing about talking into mics for the internet. And I said, Corey, you know, I've never even heard of this thing. I don't think anybody's doing it. Meanwhile, a couple of guys you may know named Adam Carolla and Joe Rogan started theirs.
And Mark Maron, yeah.
Mark Maron, and look where they are, and look where we are. We really should have started back then.
Yeah.
And we were living. I mean, it would have been so easy. Just like, hey, there's no video aspect of it. YouTube was like not really even a thing then.
I think you could only upload like 15 minutes worth of content at a time on YouTube too. So
yeah, so we would have been on the cutting edge. And it only took 5 years for us to get it together.
actually get around to it.
Yeah,
That's all right. Better late than never.
But yeah, we moved into Ridgely's Delight 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was midway through my law school education, which means that my entire law career happened in this decade.
Yeah.
Unless I go back to it, which, again, I've never seriously contemplated suicide, but the thought of that also makes me kind of want to just end it all. I can't imagine having to go back and do that all again. Whew. Man, that was bad.
I'm kind of glad I'm here at this point. Like,
Yes.
It feels like coming into the 2010s, I didn't know exactly how to do the things I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like you're young and you feel like you're an adult and you feel like you should be like making all the decisions that are going to make you the powerful rich person you will be one day.
Yeah.
But you just feel so like it feels like you're a child at the same time where like you're dependent on other people to survive. Like
The meme of like when you think, oh my God, I need an adult. Oh my God, I am an adult. I need an adultier adult. Like that was basically us at 25. Just trying to figure out. Oh man, I'm just thinking about Ridgely's Delight. So, were you single when we moved into Ridgely's Delight?
yes,
You were. I was not.
I was horrifically single at that point.
Long time single.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I think
change
I
of
think-
fortunes.
I think I had been single for like a year
Yeah,
or more at that point.
maybe more.
Yeah.
Because 2007 was when you came down to the Eastern Shore to my other place with your ex
Yeah.
and my ex.
But we weren't together at that point.
That was before you
That
got
was
together.
right before, and
Yep.
we were together for like 9 months. So
Right.
probably 2008 was that whole year.
So like 2 years.
And then 2009, 2010.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
Year
yeah.
and a half. And I was in a horrible situation.
The never ending story.
The never-ending story situation.
Part 1.
And funny because I was actually in relationships the entirety of the aughts.
Yeah.
I mean, Joyce is the only one I'm going to name. And then there was the Eastern Shore girl.
Yeah.
And then there was the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah.
All separated by 1 year. So it was like
Right.
Joyce wasn't even separated by 1 year. The other thing. But so 10 years, 3 relationships, 4 years, 3 years, 3 years. So what's that math? That's 10.
Yeah.
That's 4, 3, 3. That's 10. Oh, that's depressing.
Though on my side, I feel like I had a 4-year relationship followed almost immediately by a 5-year.
No, coming into this decade, yes.
Yeah.
Because I ended that in 2011.
Right.
Well, it was ended in 2011, and then I was single for a while
Yeah.
until
Well, you were at that point. You were just like, "Fuck everybody."
I don't want to get married.
just
I don't wanna
doing
get-
me.
Just doing me. So it's weird because we really switched this decade and the one before, very much different on the relationship front. Because I
Yeah.
went from Mr. Monogamous to not monogamous at all until the end. In case you're watching,
Yeah.
until the end of this particular decade. And you went from like period of a singleness broken up by monogamy to like back to back. Well, not back to back, but 2 long-term relationships.
Yeah.
In that you became Mr. Monogamous.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, monogamous. But you know what I mean.
In case you're listening, this is an air quote situation.
I always forget this is a audio medium. We do it visually, but like the visual gags don't really play on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just good. I mean, the entirety of my film career has been in this decade,
Yeah.
too. And I think that probably around 2010 is when I started writing the most seriously. Like when I started getting into that part of the process.
And our
then
second
12
apartment
was when I when I started like actually shooting things.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Lights of Baltimore. That was
2012.
that was the other apartment,
Park Charles.
Park Charles apartment,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, out the window of the Park Charles. So that was the next year after we got the lease for a year, and then we moved, and it was about like halfway through that lease with Lights of Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then you went to film school
Yeah.
the next year.
Yeah. God, to think I was like everything I've been it's this is more like it. I feel like when I was talking about like coming into this decade and you're 25 and you're like, I feel like I should be an adult and I should be doing the things that are important and stuff like that. Like this decade has set the table for the success that I will have in the 2020s. But it's hard for people to understand, like when I was, in 2012, when I'm like shooting videos with a video camera out the window and stuff like that, how that could lead to this.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. This is the same sort of thing I have with like explaining to people like writing. Like, there's the old phrase, my wife doesn't understand how sitting on the couch watching TV is writing sometimes. And it feels like,
Boy, do I know that.
there's a feeling of like people who are looking at me at the beginning when I'm starting with this sort of thing don't understand the little things that I'm doing to set up the future.
Yeah.
But I mean, like right now, everything feels great. It feels like progress well made,
Yeah.
And even though it took 8 years to get from there to here, it's still 8 years in the right direction,
And film school 2013 led to going back to the job, which you realized wasn't really what you wanted to do.
Right. Was not going to give me the satisfaction I wanted in the long term.
Yeah. And then, so we moved out here 2016, right?
Yes. Late
So-
2016, November.
So that means that it was Christmas of 2015, so 5 years ago, that you gave me Hollywood Drive. Mm-hmm. And then I went on vacation, came back from Dominican Republic in January of 2016 and said, hey,
Let's do this.
let's move to LA. And, we'll talk a little bit about sports in a bit, but just the sports is what kept us. I think we were ready to go in like September. That was the original plan. And then it was like, well, wait a second. This team's looking pretty good. So maybe we should stick it out and see what happens.
I think it was earlier than that, really. I feel like we had the like sort of initial discussion in like May or June.
Now,
and we were just
it was
sort of
even
like,
earlier than that because I gave notice in March.
yeah.
So I think it was like March, I need to wrap up by July 1st because I think we were talking about mid to late July.
Right.
But at the All-Star
But then
break,
we sort of had this like, we've invested all this money in Oriole tickets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this team looks like it might be good.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be out of town if all of a sudden there's Oriole playoff games at Camden Yards.
Orioles World Series games
Yeah.
at Camden Yards. I don't want to fly back from LA because I will absolutely fly back.
I will
from LA.
absolutely use all the money I'm supposed to be surviving for a couple months on to fly home and buy World Series tickets.
Yeah. Wow. So, and that would have been the first year of the podcast, second year of the podcast, because we started in 2014, April 2014. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing the podcast has been all this decade too.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. Man. So it really has been this weird transition, and I feel like now looking back at it,
And what I really like about the podcast is sort of like a point of this time is, like when we started it, we sort of said like, I would love to be able to listen to, I think the example I gave to you was like, I would love to know that Christopher Nolan had a podcast before he got big, like him and Jonathan Nolan sitting there talking about films before they even shot their first one, and be able to watch like their entire progression, like as like a like what it looks like when you're starting out to like when you're getting there kind of thing. And that was a part of the thought process I had here. Like, if one day great fame and notoriety comes to one or both of us, then
we'll be Me Too'd immediately by whatever we said on the podcast. Well, not Me Too'd, I guess. It wouldn't be Me Too'd, but we will be ruined by some early episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
Possibly the episode hashtag Stupid Rob. That could possibly be the end of my career once it starts taking off. Which I think is a good for.
I feel like I thought a lot less about consequences earlier on the podcast.
When it was just us shouting into the dark and our 10 friends who were listening.
Yeah, the void of
it was a lot different. Maybe if we lose like the first 150 episodes strangely somewhere, We'll put it in the Disney vault,
We'll
just
put
like
it-
Song of the South.
We'll put it on a server and send it to Ukraine.
But
That's not how servers work these days.
But I think that does play nicely that some of the things that aren't related to us from this decade, the Orioles had
Yeah.
their winningest decade since the 60s, 70s, basically, the 10 years between
Well,
the
I
60s
mean,
and
like
70s.
between 66 and 83, we were the winningest team in any sport. So
Yeah.
we had a nice little run there for 3 decades.
And we got a couple of years in this decade that
Yeah.
were all right.
But I
3
mean, like
playoff
this has been the decade of Manny. This has been the decade of Adam Jones, and
Yeah.
Chris Davis, and
And Chris Davis, Adam Jones just retired.
no, he's playing in Japan now.
Retired from the MLB.
Oh, okay.
Moved on from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
MLB. And I would be really happy if, Chris Davis also retired from the MLB and moved on to Japanese baseball. That'd be amazing. Manny, I want nothing but the best for. Dishearteningly, want
Yeah.
nothing but the best for. Like, I really like him to be doing better in Baltimore, but, c'est la vie. Not the haircuts. Keep the haircuts in LA. So we had playoff baseball, which I think the decade before we would not have imagined would have been possible.
No,
Because we had season tickets in some years where things were dire. I mean, people who have season tickets now, God bless you. That we went through that the first couple years.
like the Larry Bigby years and stuff like that.
I think you said it before on the podcast. I've started listening to some of the old episodes, and one of the things that I heard you say on one of the episodes I listened to was just like, you remember when we put a lot of faith in so-and-so, and it's just like, no, you don't understand. They know what they're doing. This guy, he's really got it. Like,
Jeffrey Fiorentino is going to be the next big thing.
Nope. But, you put together, we drove to Detroit.
Yeah,
On one day's notice, we drove to Detroit
yeah.
to see a playoff game. That happened in this decade. And also, the Ravens got themselves a Super Bowl this decade.
In the blackout game,
Yes.
Kaepernick was in a Super Bowl this decade.
Immediately what I thought was, as soon as you said, I'm like, was Colin Kaepernick the quarterback of
Yeah.
that team? And he was. He
Yeah.
was the 49ers quarterback in that game.
Sure was. Ray Rice was on that team too.
Good grief. Oh, but you know what? So was Ray Lewis
Yeah,
and Ed
A.
Reed.
Yeah.
Suggs, yes?
Mm-hmm.
That was at the beginning of the Suggs era, I think, right?
No,
The middle?
I mean Suggs is in the 17th year of his career right now, so
Man,
he's basically been in the NFL for as long as we haven't been in college.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's 15. He looks like a big 15-year-old. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I haven't seen
Wait.
pictures of him recently.
He's like, well, I mean, like he's got the benefit of black don't crack, but I mean, he's not. He's certainly not looking 15. I wouldn't put that on.
I would say I think he looks the same as he did in their Super Bowl year in 2012.
Yeah, I mean, more or less.
But I guess if you get beat up for 10 years or beat up for 17 years,
Yeah.
really kind of look the same. So, and that smile.
Something tells me that even though he has like incredible size, like
Yeah.
he's just like a massively large man, that like as he ages, like when he turns like 70, 80 years old, he's going to be like one of those old blues magicians that looks like he's been living in an alley for 20 years, like just like like Ed Reed has like the big huge white beard now,
Yes.
and like the
Looks his age.
yeah. I imagine we're going to have a similar thing with Suggs at one point. We're just gonna have like little sprouts of hair, like I remember when football was football.
Well, nonetheless, thank you to all of you gentlemen, but not Joe Flacco. Other maybe.
Oh, thank you, Joe Flacco. It was an incredible run.
Yes, for
Anyone who gives me a Super Bowl, I'm happy for. I have no complaints. I don't.
and the first one they won was in 2002, 3,
2001.
1.
Yeah.
Game played in 2002 though, right? Or was
Yes.
it 2000? Yeah, game was played in 2002.
Yes, I believe so.
The 2001 season, February 2002 for the Super Bowl. And I want to say that here's where we are in age. I want to say I think I was a little too young to appreciate it then. But I feel like we were in college and it was just like, yeah, of course the Ravens are in the Super Bowl.
It was high school.
God,
Yeah. That would have
Yes.
been right before we went to college.
you're right.
Yeah.
That was the year that we would have graduated high school.
The thing I remember most from 2001, which is not the decade we're talking about, but is that everyone is obsessed with Ravens car flags. Like literally every single like scummy person,
Yes.
mostly the Dundalk people, would be like on any available piece of parcel anywhere in the county, like selling flags.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
any other bootleg goods they could get on like a folding table.
The Raven don't look exactly right on this flag, but it's only $3.
But
so-
people would be buying like 5 of them for every window of their car. And
Yeah.
like if you're driving along the highway, it was like cicada season, like avoiding Raven flags. Like,
Oh man. But yeah, so we got another Super Bowl. One that we can remember.
yeah.
One that we that I remember watching.
Well, I think the thing that was most exciting to me about this Super Bowl with the most recent Ravens Super Bowl is that like it was the perfect age for me to be able to like go out and celebrate and enjoy it properly. Like
Yeah.
we were in Brooklyn watching it at the time, which is just like a short little hop, skip, and jump from like Fed Hill. And as soon as the game was like final, we're like all running to our cars to like get downtown and see the calamity. And there were people dancing on moving cars, and there were people like flipping over,
Oh, Baltimore.
like post mailboxes and stuff like that. It was great stuff. It was
Baltimore.
enjoyable, and the parade was funny as well. So
Well,
maybe we can have another one to wrap up the decade.
yes.
That'd be so lovely.
Open the decade, close the decade. That'd be great.
Yep.
But I know you want to talk about music. Did you have the music pulled up there, or was it the movies?
I had movies pulled up first.
All right, I think movies are probably better because we're going to disagree about the music no matter what. So,
I mean, like, I really don't think there's too much to speak of as far as like the music goes, as far as like specific moments in music.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, I could wrap this up pretty quickly. I feel like this has been one of the worst decades for music ever, and I feel like sort of the artistry and the musical talents of the people of this decade has been so much worse than any other. And I really do feel like there has been a, not to say that like music of the 90s was like better than music of the 80s or something like that, or that, you know, it's better than music now or something like that, but it feels like there was a definite shift in how good music was from the moment that Napster became a thing.
mm-hmm.
Like you could do it like Jesus, like a AD and BC version of Napster, you know?
Sure.
Because I feel like as soon as that changed the dynamic of how people make money in music, it changed what kind of people we allowed to be inside the guarded walls of music.
Let me put this metaphor for
Like
you.
the only way Post Malone would be allowed to be an artist before Napster would be if he was like a Bob Dylan type.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's so folksy and so different that people are enjoying him for his difference. You know? He would never be like a #1 artist in the world type person.
No.
But the reason why he's #1 artist in the world type person now is because there's a humongous marketing machine behind making him seem like he's more important than he is.
Bob Dylan didn't have any kind of marketing machine behind him.
Well, no,
at
but I
all.
mean, like Bob Dylan didn't have the same sort of marketing machine where you could, like, you know, if you really want people who sniff glue to like Post Malone, you can hyper target those people specifically and show them Post Malone videos on their Facebook feed, and then they think Post Malone is everywhere, and then they start talking about it all the time. You know, like I feel like we ran through like the 2010 top songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, all the artists are more or less the same. There's nobody there who like isn't around today.
I mean, whoever did G6.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only one that I didn't like instantly
Black
recognize.
Eyed Peas.
Well, I mean, the Black Eyed Peas, like, I'm sure if they released an album right now, like, it would be.
Yeah, people would probably buy it.
Yeah.
People are dumb.
But I mean,
let
like,
me-
people know who they are. I mean, it's not like they've lost like cultural relevance per se. Like, it was all like Rihanna and Eminem and Kesha and Katy Perry and all that, like, to lead off the decade.
Let me propose a metaphor to you.
Okay.
Cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be the businessman's tool. That was
Right.
it. And then we hit this point where it became much more egalitarian, and the product suffered for a long time. I'm imagining the Moto Razr sidekick thing where it like popped the screen up and like did the thing. And
That was just a sidekick, I think. Yeah.
so wait, what was the pink Moto something? No, it wasn't the kick up. It was
Like
the slide up.
yeah, the slide up,
phone.
yeah.
And that phone was a piece of garbage.
Right.
I got the insurance on that. I had one of those for someone, and I got the insurance on it. I must have gotten 5 or 6 replacements of that because that sliding mechanism was the worst. It broke
It would just
all the time.
slide straight off.
It would just literally pop off, and the wires would still be there, but it'd be hanging by the wires.
Yeah.
You couldn't get it back on. Anyway, here's my point. When it was for businessmen only, they knew what the product was, and they were it was easy to kind of like fashion it for them. It became really egalitarian and became really bad for a while. But now we've grown into where it's like we can be egalitarian and have a good product, right? Despite the fact that I hate Apple, the Apple iPhone 11 Pro is an amazing product.
Yeah.
The Pixel 3a, not so much 4, 3a, I think is an amazing product. And there are some Samsung Note 11 is also very good. And there are some like really highlighted cell phones out there. Now there's still some garbage, but the cream has risen to the top. I think that the 2010s have been that egalitarian portion of music where streaming, where SoundCloud and those kind of platforms made it easy for everyone to get their sound out. And we are so used to the gilded gates of music from the decades before that all we really need to do is give it some time until we get to the iPhone 11 Pixel 3 period of music, where we put the walls back up and we stop just letting all the garbage get in.
See, I would disagree with this because so much of the change in technology has been about what is available and how much does it cost. So, like back in the days where you used to have brick cell phones.
Yeah.
Like, and it was connected to your Mercedes Benz, like, and that's how you made calls. Then that wasn't great because it.
See, I'm not talking about
that was the limit of the technology
BlackBerry.
at the time.
BlackBerry is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
BlackBerry was almost a perfect platform for a phone. I loved my BlackBerry. You loved your BlackBerry. And then shortly thereafter, there came this slew of smartphones that weren't really that smart.
Right.
It was
they were
just
trying
garbage.
to figure out a way to make the smartphone before it was available.
Yeah, because egalitarian. Let's give it to everybody. It's not just for businessmen anymore. I had a
Right.
Motorola Q in 2002, and everyone said, "Why would you need to check your email from anywhere that wasn't your computer?" By the way, I'm looking at all of you Hofstra class of 2006 who were like, "Look at this guy checking Facebook on his phone. Who cares about that?" That's what I say. It's a visual gag if you go watch the video. But no, so eventually, though, we've come out of that egalitarian junk phase into a better phase.
See, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that as far as technology of the decade, we've been trying to push things. I mean, like obviously, business wants to get their device in the hands of as many people as possible, and the only people who cell phones made sense for in the beginning were just business people because they could afford it and they had a need. And as the technology became cheaper and more people were able to buy the phones, because I mean, like, we look at a new iPhone 11 and go like, oh my god, $1,200 for that with 500 gigs of storage or whatever. And, you say to yourself like that's huge cost, but the cost of the big brick phone was $1,200.
I know, but I think you're missing the metaphor. It's not the cost or the technology. It's that there is a place where the access to the thing is very hard. Then it becomes very egalitarian, but then it switches back and we go back from total egalitarian nature of phones where any company's putting out a phone. Coke might have had a phone at that time.
I mean, Facebook had a phone.
Facebook had a phone.
Yeah.
Windows had many phones. I think they still do, but not very good ones. And now we have a small number of really good phones again. So things like Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, they, for a while, have been super egalitarian. Anyone can put anything on the platform. Spotify is stopping that now.
Here's where where I'm trying to explain where the metaphor breaks loose for me is that with technology, it constantly was improving. It was constantly getting faster and smaller and capable of more. And people were looking at BlackBerries when they at the beginning of the decade and saying, "I wish we could do more. I wish there was more features we could put into this." And like the iPhone comes along and that changes the game, and like there's apps now, and that was never a way to think about how we could deliver this service. And then over the course of the decade, it becomes everything. And people are trying to take what came before and build upon it. Whereas in music, they're not trying to build upon the thing that came before. They're not trying to make better music every year. They're just trying to make music that sells. And the problem is that by focusing purely on the metrics of music and like, you know, streams and how popular somebody is on Instagram, or like how many times people search for him in a year, or any of those sort of things, like that takes away. The problem with music is that like right now there's some 12-year-old who loves coding and is playing on a computer and creating something that is going to change the world one day. And he's doing that because there are people out there, regardless of how you feel about them personally, but there are people out there like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk who are constantly trying to push a new barrier. Tim Cook, we're just constantly trying to create something new and amazing. Okay. There's a 12-year-old right now taking that lead and creating something that 5 years from now, 10 years from now is going to change the world.
Okay.
There is not somebody who is listening to the music that is coming out today, the Post Malone, the Little Yachty's, all these sort of things, and becoming inspired to create better music because the music that they listened to was of such a low bar that they're not going. It's not the same thing as like when you were a kid and you heard Pink Floyd and you said, "What the fuck is this?"
See, but
when you heard Nirvana, or when you heard like
that's completely wrong. The iPhone came out as an answer to this egalitarian smartphone nonsense. It's like, we're going to create something better. Look at all the junk that's out there. Yes, ours is going to cost more. The bar to entry is higher. It's going to be worth it.
Right.
And the problem, as this always is with this discussion, is we're in the midst of it and you can't see beyond it. My point is exactly that. Someone is going to come bring the iPhone of music. The problem is the bar right now is, a bar for entry is very low, but Spotify is changing. Now they're not just letting anyone put anything on Spotify. SoundCloud has a premiere level that is growing in popularity that not everyone can get on.
Yeah.
And eventually it will filter its way out and we'll be back to the iPhone and the Pixel 3 from the BlackBerry. We're just in the midst of the middle part now.
Okay, I'm going to this is something I was thinking about outside before we started the show. Let's end our music discussion right here. But before we go, what do you imagine we would be saying in 2030 when we're looking back on this? Do you think that I will say right now, 2030, the music is going to be worse. If you can believe it, it's going to be worse because the people who are going to be making music in 2030 are listening to the music of 2020 right now. And that is a problem. That is not going to equal better music later. People are not going to break the streak. It's going to, the commercialism and the marketing and the celebrity culture and the everything that is more important than the actual talent of the musician is going to far outpace it by the time 2020 rolls around. And you know, there's people like Paris Hilton who released an album and it was like, you know, everyone's just like, this is shitty and terrible and awful. And she didn't write the music. She had a high-class producer write the music, but there wasn't a way. She still had to sing at that point. The auto-tune wasn't there. Now, if Paris Hilton was a thing now as opposed to when she was, and she released an album, it would be the #1 album in the country. And everyone would be saying like, oh my God, Paris Hilton has such a beautiful singing voice. And I'm like, it's a robot that's doing that. Okay, it's only going to get worse. 2030, it's going to be worse. I couldn't believe that I would say that this is the worst decade ever for music, ever, period, ever, but it is.
True or false? You listen to the same music today that you did when you were 25.
I mean, some of it, yes, but I mean, like...
The great majority of what you listen to today is what you listened to when you were 25.
No.
Pink Floyd.
I listen to it from time to time, but I don't listen to it as much as I did then.
And Analik.
Yes, but again, not as much as I did. I would say that.
What has changed about your musical interest between 25 and 35?
I would say that my music listening is 50% Google Play Music and 50% Spotify.
Okay.
And when I got
I'm not saying how you consume it. I'm saying what you're consuming.
No. I'm saying the stuff that's on my Spotify list of like the songs I've liked have been things that have come out since I got Spotify. There's not a lot of like old school bangers in my Spotify. It's mostly new things.
Every time I've been in the car with you, I've been listening to these same playlists that you've had since we rode in the car together.
And that's Google Play Music, where I have all my old music. That's my library of old music that was like on my iPod and stuff like that.
So let's say it's not.
So like there was like a cultural, or there was a shift in me for music between when I got Spotify and before I had Spotify.
Sure. So would you say that it is similar music that you're listening to now than what you listened to at 25, even if it's not the same artist? Singer-songwriters, mainly female singer-songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah, rock.
and rock music.
Yeah, metal, punk.
So, my point is, you are the rule. That said, there is a psychological study that was done that says whatever music you listen to between 22 and 26, you will find to be the best music for your entire life. And everything before that will be leading to your great music, and everything after it will be shit. And you are exactly proving that. Whereas,
No, I couldn't disagree more because the
you're literally agreeing. That's your
No.
point. Your point is that everything that's come out has been, except for the music you like, is shit.
No, I'm saying.
Oh my god, it's the
Hold
same
on.
argument always.
No.
I can concede.
This is-
I can
this is-
concede to points that Little Yachty is not great music.
There was
SoundCloud has had a negative impact on music. That's absolutely true. But I can also say that if you look at my top artists for 2019, it's very similar to what I listened to 2018 and 2017 with some other stuff mixed in. But it's the music I listened to when I was 25. I just happen to listen to rap at 25, and you have listened to female singer-songwriters.
I listen to rap as well, but I'm saying like in 2010, I went into record and tape traders and I bought like 20 CDs at a clip, right? Like I would go in there, they'd have like a buy one, get one for a penny sale or something like that. And I would buy 50 CDs at a time. And I would have trouble rounding it down to the 50 I wanted. Because I'd be going through, I'd be like, oh man, I want this, I want this, I want that. It was difficult for me to figure out like what I wanted to listen to. The problem now is that there's more options right now for music than there is ever before.
It's egalitarian.
Every single day.
My point.
There are more more songs being released from artists you've never heard of that are more than that would be released in a year sometimes probably.
Yes.
In the days before, but it's just not the same because the number of songs that would have been on my Google Play or like I would have downloaded and put on my iPod in 2010 is more in 1 year than I probably have in the last 5 years.
Ask your dad what the best music was.
Okay.
He's going to say something probably from the 70s and 80s, and everything that's come after that has been fallen woefully short of what the great music was in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Because what you listen to in your 20s is what locks you in.
No, I like other music. It's not all the same thing. I think you would.
The fact that, and again, my point was, music today is so egalitarian. The bar for entry is very low. However, there's a natural progression that the bar will be raised, and all of this stuff will go away.
All I want is something artistically satisfying.
Right, female singer-songwriters and rock band music. You want to get back to the music that you like, and I get that. That is what everyone wants.
Those are the only ones that haven't slipped since
the entire MAGA movement is based upon the fact that they want the thing that they want and they don't want change. I understand that.
You know what has not gotten perceptively worse in the decade?
What's that?
As opposed to where it was when it started is like metal music or punk music or folk music or things like that. If you look at country at the beginning of 2010, which I like some country. I'm not a huge country fan, but I have plenty of country on my iPod. Or on my Google Play or on my Spotify, whatever. There's been a discernible decrease in the talents and enjoyment of country music from 2010 to 2020.
That you listen to. The music you listen to.
No, I'm saying there's country.
Your inability
people who
to
like country music.
Your
Who say
inability
that country
to
music
accept
has never been worse. I don't know what to tell you.
Your inability to accept that the whole world may not see it the way that you do is exactly why I know as soon as Trump is out, you will return to being a Republican because you are at heart a conservative. You want things the way that you want them, and that things should never change.
No,
that's your opinion on music.
I'm fine with it changing. I'm just
All right,
I'm not fine with it being
has film degraded in the last decade.
I would argue that it's getting better.
You would argue that it's getting better.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your argument for it getting better?
Well, I mean, for instance, we can go into the movie part of this discussion now. I'm looking at the Best Picture winners or Best Picture nominees from 2010, right? Mm-hmm. So technically, this would have been movies from 2009 nominated for the 2010, but
right.
Still, it's sort of the point. This is the same place where we are right now. King's Speech won, right? Other movies that were nominated: 127 Hours, Black Swan, The Fighter, Inception, The Kids Are All Right, The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, Writer's Bone. I think Social Network is one of the best movies of the decade, hands down. It was one of the first here in the run.
You're a huge
this
Aaron
decade.
Sorkin fan. That doesn't surprise me.
No, but I'm saying like,
Do you think
the
Molly's
fact
Game
that,
was good?
I thought Molly's Game was good. Yeah.
Of course. I wonder why.
The difference is that the Social Network is like that type of movie was a revelation back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get the opportunity to have a lot more people with like streaming and the ability to put
Right.
movies out a lot quicker, and just the number of movies that are out every single year allows for more shots at the goal and more opportunities to make great work.
How many of those movies were also in the top 10 grossing movies for the year?
Of those specific
Of
movies?
those specific movies.
I mean, I imagine The Social Network, Toy Story 3, Inception was a big one. Trying to think. It's hard for me to remember. I mean, like, True Grit, I think, was a pretty good box office winner. But, I mean, the difference is in 2010, if a movie made $100 million, it was one of the biggest successes that we've ever seen.
Right.
And now if you make $100 million, you've basically made enough money to
Covered.
make another movie.
You covered costs.
Yeah. Like,
So, but again, now
I mean, like, they're talking about, like, Last Christmas just made over $100 million in the box office.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, so this movie isn't a flop now. It's actually a success. And it's just like, well, you know, like, it used to be that $100 million, when it was only coming from, like, you know, the U.S. market, essentially,
Right.
was a crowning achievement.
But film has now shifted. Movies like The King's Speech are farther between. Inglourious Bastards would get made just because it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. But it's harder to get those movies because our tentpole superhero movies are the ones that are a superhero and franchise movies. How many of those were a franchise?
I mean, Toy Story.
A non-animated franchise.
I mean, none of these in 2010 were necessarily franchises.
So-
but I'm saying, like, how many franchises are really going to be nominated this year?
Oh, I'm talking about top because you agreed with me that those were some of the top grossing movies of the year as well.
No, I said there were a handful of them that
Sure.
that did well. But I
Do
mean, like,
you
there's a
think-
handful of movies that get nominated for Oscars because they did well.
Do you think that there's going to be anything on the list this year that will be in both the Oscar hunt and the top grossing movies of the year?
Sure.
A year which will have Star Wars,
Yeah.
which had Endgame,
Yeah.
and the entire blockbuster summer.
Yeah.
Do you think anything is going to compete in the top 10 of the year and also be on an Oscar nomination list?
Joker.
Superhero movie.
Yeah.
So you're proving my point. My
No, but
point
I'm
is,
saying- yes,
you
they're-
are saying that movies have not degraded despite the fact that we have become
But I mean, like, there's
franchised.
no point in talking about, like, The Irishman's box office because it showed in 15 theaters across the country.
Okay.
of
It's also
the-
3 hours and 20 minutes long, and if it was
Yeah.
in a movie theater, nobody would want to go see it.
Well,
It has to be on Netflix.
I mean, beyond that, I'm saying, like, you know, we're not counting everybody's monthly subscription this month towards what The Irishman was, you know, like, getting. But I
But-
mean, like,
My point is, we have become movies have become franchise based. In order to get a green light, it has to be existing IP. It has to be big. We're looking for $1 billion, not $100 million.
it doesn't have to be. It has to be on the studio level. On the major studio level, if you're talking about Disney, if you're talking about Fox, well, now Disney, but if you're talking about Disney, Universal, Warner Brothers, that type of thing, then you have to, because the amount of cost that it makes to bring one of these movies to life has to have some sort of way to connect it to the next one.
We'd like everyone to take note.
So like you know, Richard Jewell just came out, right? Mm-hmm. And you say, well, that's not a franchise movie. That's not part of, like, some, you know, they're not going to make Richard Jewell 2 at some point.
Right. Yeah.
But what it is it's a franchise of Clint Eastwood films.
Right.
People who like Clint Eastwood
We'll
sort
go
of
see.
think of him, the director, as a franchise in its own right. This is
Mm-hmm.
not a new thing. The only idea is that now we're talking about it in terms of property that a studio could own and then use that to go forward. Because, you know, like, once $1 billion is spent on Star Wars, then Disney has to start thinking about ways they can make their $1 billion back.
Sure.
You know?
So I would just like everyone to take note. When it comes to music, where Corey has very, very strong opinions that old music is good and new music sucks, old music is better. When it comes to films, where he is really in on new films are fine and old films are fine and it's all fine. I'm Just saying. Nothing has changed over the decade in films. Nothing has degraded.
Oh,
It's
I'm
all
not
the same.
saying that's the case. There's been huge monumental shifts in the film industry. I'm
Right.
just saying that the talent and the ability of the artists who are responsible for these pictures has not dipped like music has. Music is the stock market crashing. The artistic ability was going up and up and up, and then all of a sudden at a certain point it just started flooring.
What is the bar for entry on film?
What do you mean?
How high a bar do you have to jump to get even into the show?
Like to get into a movie?
You get into a theater with the film that you've made.
Oh, it's you're one of the top 1% best movies.
Is that
made that year.
egalitarian? Is that an open for everyone? Can everyone get into it? No, it's the top 1%.
No, but
so
I'm
by
saying,
definition,
but
it's not egalitarian.
to get into the theater, that's,
What do you
you're
have
gonna
to
you're gonna
do-
make the argument that somebody who does really well on SoundCloud
No.
is a successful artist
What
too,
do you
because
have
they
to
have
do?
like,
What do you have to do to get your music out on Spotify?
I mean, release it,
Release it. That's literally all you have to do.
right?
So the bar is very low. It becomes far more egalitarian.
But I'm saying there's more opportunities for that in film too. Like you could release your film anywhere right now. Like you can
In theaters. I can
No,
put it out in
you don't
theaters.
have. You can if you want to. There's options to put things in theaters yourself.
Sure.
Like
I can get 17 seats.
I can pre-sell a theater,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs me $5 a seat to
Sure.
buy whatever theater I want to screen my movie in, and then I could. I mean, this is what Kevin Smith's doing right now, barnstorming across the country, getting getting a 500 seat theater, having to pay $1,000 or $2,000 to rent the space, and then selling
seats.
tickets for $15
Yep.
each, and making way more money in the long run.
Absolutely. And he's got the money to
And
do
he's-
that up front.
Well, I mean,
But
he's able to do that because he's got a product that he knows he's going to make his money back on.
If I am a kid from West Baltimore,
Yeah.
very easy to get my music on Spotify. Almost impossible to get my film anywhere where it's going to be seen.
That's not true. No, it's not true. You can even though almost no film maker would want to do this because it would be like cheapening the product and you'd be spending money to get it to this point. You could always put your movie on YouTube.
Sure.
You could just drop any movie you want on YouTube if you wanted to. If you own it,
Absolutely.
you could do it at any time, and that's free. But I'm saying, like, there's also places where you can get them to put your movie up on all the different platforms, and then they take a cut, and that's not great business sense. Much like putting it on YouTube isn't great business sense. But like, it's there, it's an option to get you out there.
We can agree it's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing, but it's also the movies are one of the hardest art forms to do because it takes so much time and money to make one. If you wanted to release an album, like you rapping over beats, right?
Sure, yes.
You could spend a couple months like writing up all your stuff, or if you had like time all to yourself, you could take a couple weeks
Sure.
where you're waking up in the morning and writing lyrics and working on things, and then release it. And it's not the same thing as a movie because I need to hire a certain number of people to just make a movie. I have to get actors. I have to get locations. There's so much more involved. If you had to get a guitar player's license to be able to play your guitar, then it would make it a much more difficult thing for people to become musicians as opposed to having to go and get like a permit from Film LA,
In last week's episode, you were talking about how you talked to your dad about some issue, and you asked yourself, where are you even getting these facts? And you realized he was only hearing one set of facts from one place.
Right.
And that was skewing his view of the world.
Yeah. It's not true. I mean, like, I don't know what to tell you.
I work in the music industry, and I can tell you that the bar for entry is very low. Eventually, the egalitarian nature of it will steady out, and the product will be better. Will be more. It will go conservative again.
It's
which is
easier.
acceptable.
It's easier to release an album than it is to release a movie. That's
Yes,
not. That's
100%.
Not, yeah, it's not. That's not in question.
Much more egalitarian. And once it's harder to release an album, the product will improve. Just the same way that film.
But it will never be as hard as making a film.
Sure, but if I'm Josh Trank, and I
Yeah.
come out with a really great short film, which gets me a 15...
remembrance of 2010s.
2010, Josh Trank. I do a really great short film, which gets me a really great independent film. Mm-hmm. And then what do I get? Fantastic Four.
Yeah, you get to move up.
Because in this world, moving up means doing a franchise movie, doing a superhero movie, doing those big blockbusters. You can't be Quentin Tarantino. You can't be Robert Rodriguez anymore.
No, you can. You absolutely can.
No one's given Josh Trank more money to do another Super 8.
We were just talking last episode about someone like Noah Baumbach, who's just allowed to like make his own movie. Like nobody, if you're a filmmaker, if you like film, if you're serious about it, you know who Noah Baumbach is. But if I said to some random person, like if I asked Rachel, have you ever seen Frances Ha? She's not gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about.
No.
If I said, do you know who Quentin Tarantino is, she would. But I'm saying, like, that's because Quentin Tarantino had the opportunity to make his movies and release them into wider swaths. Like, Quentin Tarantino is more available than Noah Baumbach is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you're not going to get your next Quentin Tarantino from what we have now.
The next Quentin Tarantino is not going to work inside a studio.
And it will be the next... Hopefully now, this period of more small movies again.
The next Quentin Tarantino is making a movie and then releasing it themselves on their own website and making all the money. And even though it will be less money than they would get if they released it in theaters, it would mean more money for them because it's less money being taken from the studios off the top end.
Or they're getting a deal.
Somebody is going to, in this decade, I think, release a movie online that is going to not be associated with Netflix or Hulu or anything.
Just on their website.
You're going to go to joeblow.com and you're going to be able to watch his movie after you pay him $10 or whatever. And he is going to make an incredible amount of money. Somebody is going to find the right combination of material, movie, and way to do it online that is going to fundamentally shift how it's done. And the problem is that it's too hard to... It needs to be the right combination of events that allows it to happen, but it's definitely going to happen. And as soon as it does, that's when studios start getting worried that their whole business model is crumbling.
I actually know the platform where that's going to happen. That guy has hit me as in my professional work up before because he the one thing he finds people don't have in those movies, music.
Yeah,
because it's so expensive to get music.
Right.
He was like, everyone's coming to me and saying, I'd love to put it on your platform, but I used music in this that I know that I didn't clear.
Yeah.
So your rule says I have to clear the music. I can't do that. So he came to us to be like, hey, would you want to do some kind of licensing deal where people could use your music and then we could post it on this platform where people pay $7, come and watch it. You actually get 2 viewings or 3 viewings, I think. And they're like, yeah, so the idea being you watch it, you share it with a couple of friends, maybe they watch it with you, or they come watch their own, and all of the money, or like $6 of the $7 goes to the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like the $1 going to the website or whatever. Although, if you use our music, you get $5, $1 goes to music, $1 goes to website, $5 goes in your pocket.
Yeah.
So, it's there. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the movies argument is the same as TV. I don't know if there's any argument that 2010s have been the golden age of television.
Yeah.
And too many to even really go through, but like the end of Breaking Bad was in the 2010s. Game of Thrones was in 2010s, even the last season, which maybe not the golden age.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching the second season.
But just the number of things. I mean, like, I imagine that if we had this conversation ending the 2010s, we would be talking about like all these cable channels and why they have these shows that nobody watches. Like, why do you need 24 hours worth of gardening shows? But what people realized was that, the niches really were what separated people from.
Yeah.
And once you put out shows that you thought only a small handful of people would like, and lots of people liked them, they were like, oh, maybe we should go further with this idea.
And we are closing, and I'm going to say one network because I watched it a little bit last night, but I mean, maybe 2 networks, but we are closing out 2010s with The Watchmen on HBO. Silicon Valley had their last episode.
Which I was not happy about.
Me either. But up until this last few episodes, I think did really well.
Yeah.
They had the Game of Thrones problems where they were trying to wrap up a story that really could have gone another season.
Yeah, couldn't have done easily.
Yeah, kind of wrote yourself into a corner or realize that you had 2 seasons worth of material and we had to close this mother up.
I mean, I feel like the problem with a lot of shows is like the easiest way to end it is just to have the main character die.
Yeah.
Because then like there's no more Pied Piper without Richard Hendricks kind of thing, you know? Like, if he
Can't
just
solve the
died in the last episode.
He solves all the problems. So if he dies, we don't have a problem solver now.
But then you
right?
can't make a movie about it if you don't.
Yeah. But I'm rewatching.
You can't make an Entourage movie if Vince dies at the end of it.
I'm rewatching the second season of The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about Last Tycoon getting another season. Or no. Z? Or we've been talking about this. It's coming out next year.
Z?
Is it Z?
Yeah.
Yeah, Z's getting another season. Just like Amazon.
God, that takes so long.
I know. And this
It's like
is
4 years between every season of Z.
But because it's like a movie.
Yeah.
It's a season full of movie episodes. And HBO does it well. Amazon's doing it well. And now we're talking about Apple getting into the business. Disney now has their platform. So we came
There'll
into
be HBO Max and Peacock in the next couple months.
We came into this decade with HBO,
Mm-hmm.
Netflix, which I want to say in 2010 might still have been DVDs on demand.
Yeah, probably.
I can't say that it was streaming at that point. I think we were getting DVDs at the
I don't think
apartment.
I really got streaming until I was in like Parkville.
Yeah. So 2014 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we came into the decade with Netflix and cable. And cable brought you HBO,
And like to
Showmax or Showtime.
an extent YouTube at the beginning, but it was still so young. I mean, like with it by 2012, I think was really when YouTube started like blowing up. But like it's not at the decade turn.
Right. And now we're exiting it with Disney, Comcast, Apple, YouTube, Amazon, and then Netflix as well. HBO, all like streaming. And I don't think of any of those as on TV. I think of them as apps that I go to on my device that's attached to my TV. That's it.
Yeah.
So, it's never been better. It's never been more opportunity. And it's a good thing for people who write. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, I mean, we had a lot of other things that we were going to get to, but we just sort of ran through.
Argued about music. The whole time. We shouldn't have talked about music. But how about this? We started the decade with the first black president of the 44 that we've had now. 43 white guys. And
45.
45?
Yeah.
45, 44 white guys. I don't like to count this last one as president. And of those, like 27 pretty vocal racists. But the 2010s brought us the second term of black president. However, that's the high. The low is we then had the 2016 election.
Yeah.
Which pretty infamously, if you've been listening to the podcast, I saw as a choice between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. Like no real great choices once we got to the general election. And now we're heading into the 2020 election where we're going to enter into this new decade, and it looks a little bit like 2016. The Democrats kind of eating their own, and maybe there's going to be a little tomfoolery to get into the convention, and the party guy is going to be the one who gets it. Maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll see. Donald Trump still running.
Yeah.
Going to be president. We entered this decade with Barack Obama, possibly the most presidential president since Roosevelt.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
And not even Franklin. Like, let's go back to Teddy.
Are we? I mean, like, how are you defining presidential president? I mean, that's really the question.
A
Like,
guy who imbibes the values that I would say are the presidency. Like, my mind went to Woodrow Wilson because I look at him and I think presidential when I think Woodrow Wilson, but huge racist, so probably not.
See, the problem is that, like, if you're gonna, I would have said that, like, George H.W. Bush was the type of guy who was like the consummate patriot and the guy who wanted to do good and like continued moving up like to different parts of the government. You're gonna make the like, well, he was a huge racist too, and I'm just like, well, yeah, but I mean, like, we can't, like, I feel like at a certain point, like, at 2010 we were probably saying that's gay to each other like 15 times a day.
Yep.
And I mean, like, there's got to be a slight difference between how we judge. We gotta judge on a curve a little bit here.
And I'm not going to say that about HW. I'm going to say he was a career politician. He was a career national politician.
Yeah.
He was always building towards the presidency. And I do feel like Barack Obama, for what it's worth, was kind of like thrust into that. It was like state senate, national senate.
I think he was building, but he didn't imagine that his takeoff would be so immediate.
And then HW was like, all right, I'm going to come
I imagine
out.
he went into that DNC convention speech.
Yeah.
where he like thrust himself on the national spotlight and said like, "Oh, this will give me a little bit of attention. Maybe I can run for Senate."
I'm setting myself up for 2020. Nope.
Yeah.
Next time, buddy,
Yeah.
you're up. Here we go. But yeah, so I mean, HW was presidential, but I think he was also like a politician. And I know Obama was a politician too, but not until the end did I feel the politician-ness of it. That first 08 election takes me back to like, again, a Teddy Roosevelt, somebody who gives you hope that Franklin Roosevelt for that matter, someone who's going to give you hope that it's going to be better than it was. Yeah, we've been through some bad times. Things are going to get better.
I mean, we had that with Clinton too.
See, I always thought that Clinton was skeevy. I wrote a report.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that Clinton isn't skeevy. I'm just sort of saying that, like, you know, as far as like the jump out of nowhere, become a national figure, Jimmy Carter was the same sort of way. I mean, like both those people, you know, despite what the leanings of certain people would say, are both patriotic men who truly love their country and do what they. I mean, like Jimmy Carter is still doing public work because he feels like it's right for him to be giving to others.
Jimmy Carter is the dad I wish I had. He's basically my dad, except for
Democratic.
Abiding by the teachings of Jesus, not just talking about it. So I do love Jimmy, but I also think he's like a Southern preacher.
It's one of those like Jimmy Carter, you know, like they were waiting for him to not be president anymore before they let the prisoners
in Iran go.
Yeah. I mean, like it was one of those like he did so much. You know, he could have immediately after he left the inauguration be like, yeah, by the way, we negotiated this whole thing. They were just waiting for me to get out before to make it look like Reagan's win. Like he could have showboated on that a little bit, but he didn't, because he was just like, what was important to me was that they got out. He didn't fly home right away because he wanted to meet the hostages at the airport.
Maybe this is why I have a bad feeling about Clinton and Carter. Both of them were in times of bad suits. Clinton had the big shoulder pads in 92, and Jimmy had that 1970s like polyester suit.
Yeah.
And we went to 2008 where it's like, okay, suits are like modern and cut.
Yeah, now you can get one that fits you properly. Yeah. You can buy one custom.
And then I go back to the early 1900s where it's like, oh, he was straight black tying it at the inauguration. Just like the tux with tails and the bow tie. And then we just kind of went through a whole period of like, oh, that is a real skinny tie. Like John Kennedy, great. Yeah. But also had that like kind of looks like he's wearing his dad's suit and real skinny tie. And to me, that's not presidential. But again, it's like my parents. Barack Obama wearing a sand-colored suit was a cardinal sin who could never be forgiven. So maybe just a difference of opinion. Maybe it's when you're in your 20s that it really sets what you think as something. And no matter how old you get, you're always going to compare it to that thing when you're in your 20s.
Yeah. Like the music. Is that what
That's what we call a callback. Yeah. That's a callback to earlier in the episode, guys.
Is there anything else you feel like we need to like really touch on from the 2010s? I mean, there was a lot more things that we could have, but I feel like well,
let's just do this. Let's pause for a moment,
okay,
and give it just maybe like 10 seconds of thought. And when we're sitting here, well, hopefully not here, but when we're sitting somewhere doing episode, well, what would it be? Close to 1,000 by that point.
Yeah.
At the end of 2019. No, that's now.
2029?
2029.
Yeah.
2019 feels like so far in the future. It's this year. 2029.
Well, it's funny, like 2019 is the year of 1,000 years. Like it feels like this. If you told me something that happened in January, I'd be like, no, that happened when I was 12.
Yeah, no, long time ago. Nope, no, this year? Oh, okay. So what do you think will be different in 2029 versus this year?
I think that we're going to be in the beginning stages of the automation generation by 2029. And the reason why I say beginning stages is because there's going to be certain aspects of our life which will feel automatic, but then there's going to be certain aspects of our life which feel stuck 10 years earlier. Like, I read some sort of story about like Google Maps, the people who run Google Maps saying like, we've offered for free all of our data that we've collected about people, how they travel through cities to like, autonomized data so they could see like, oh, every single day, 27,000 people drive down Figueroa. and they do it like this, and they usually come from here. So you could use this information to create a better, more perfect city, like optimize lights or like figure all that sort of stuff out. They've even offered like real-time stuff to like help alleviate traffic problems. But no city really has taken advantage of this, right? I imagine that by the time 2029 rolls around, at this point, 10 years from now, I'll come home. My apartment will light up immediately for me. My TV will turn on with the thing I want to watch. I will be greeted by Jarvis, who will tell me about everything that has been, here's a message from Rob, he sent you. There will be so many jobs that don't exist because of automation. And it just, for me, it seems like there's going to be a place. I feel like 10 years from now is going to feel like so much more in the future than the jump from 2009 to 2019 was, which will seem earth-shattering to people because this decade has been about growth more than any other. But I just feel like there will be, as much as it'll change, there will be things that are the same. Like LA will still not look at map data and analytics to figure out traffic.
We'll have a train to the airport, though. We'll have a train to the airport.
Maybe.
No, we have to. It's part of the deal to get the Olympics, is we have to have public transportation.
We're so far behind on that, though.
Garcetti's out there with a shovel doing it himself. So here's what I was going to say. Number one, I hope I don't have to drive a car anywhere by 2019.
Yeah.
Your car is nearly autonomous as it is. And Tesla has an autonomous car.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's just all autonomous and we don't have to do it.
I mean, I would like to say that by 2019, there's going to be more... 2029. God damn it. 2029, there will be... I'm still going to write 2019 on my checks for like a year still.
Or 3. Yeah.
It's... I think 2029... there will be a lot more opportunity. Like, how people used to just die in their 40s because they ate too much awful food and then they'd have a heart attack and just keel over?
Sure. And
like nowadays, there's like you could take better care of yourself and people are living longer than ever and stuff like that. I feel like there will be less. In 2029, you'll hear less stories about like, oh my God, my friend Jimmy just got clipped by a car and died.
Yeah.
Like there will be more like by 2029. I mean, there's still going to be old cars on the road, but there will be more new cars that will like stop for people and like that sort of thing. So. And
on that note, how about 10 years, way less cancer? That'd be great.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been solving that problem for the last 30 years. Can we just wrap that up in a decade?
This might be I feel like so many cancer researchers are pushing we're right around the corner from a cancer cure to get more funding.
Yeah.
But it like I've been hearing this for so long that like people are just like, we're just that one missing thing away from figuring it all out.
So here is the one thing I think is going to be different between now and 29. For sure. Much like script notes, we will no longer be able to find the time to get together to do it. We will do it via Skype.
Yeah.
Similar to script notes. You will live in Glendale or Pasadena or somewhere in a house. And there will be 1 to 3 children. And there will be a marriage. And it'll be like, you remember when you really wanted to get that penthouse apartment and you're going to look around your 4-bedroom in Pasadena off Colorado and be like, yeah, I remember that. And I'm going to probably live in West Hollywood in a very small studio apartment, spending most of my time by myself. But we'll get together via Skype once a week and still do a podcast. So
I would like to hope that by 2029, like when we're doing like the outros to this, like it's like you can find me on my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com. Please, everybody, go out to the premiere the opening this Friday of my new movie coming out. Like
gotta hope.
And then all the people in like the comments are just like, oh my God, I can't wait to see your movie.
That would be fantastic.
I'm just like, thank you, Janelle.
How about this? How about we don't have ads in 2029 because we choose not to have ads? Listen, this podcast is free. It's always been free. We're going to offer it for you for free forever. That is not guaranteed. That's me in 2029 thinking that perhaps that will be how things go. Listen, stamps.com. If you're listening, give us a shout.
Get to us before it's too late.
No, functionally the same.
Or by 2029, we'll be like a Corolla show, and it's like the first 10 minutes of the podcast is all ads.
just reading straight through. Yeah, Corey, I saw you.
Castro, baby.
I saw you. Did you do a little betting this week? Yeah, I'm on Ticketbets.com. Let me tell you, I'm cleaning up over there.
There's a couple podcasts like Pod Save America always starts with a couple minutes worth of like this show brought to you by and
Yeah.
like I'm just like skip.
That's why we got to trick people. Just throw them in the middle. Just like in the middle of the conversation, be like, yeah, so were you going to go to Vegas? Listen, I was going to take a trip to Vegas, but placebets.com has made it so easy I don't even have to go to Vegas. And then 30 seconds in, somebody's like, this is an ad. Damn it, I didn't even realize.
That's why I feel like we're going to need to talk all our ads into just letting us go completely off copy. Like if you agree to have us be the person that does your ad, you have no influence over what we say.
Listen,
and then we can just drop it in like casually. It's
here's
just
the
like,
3 points you got to hit. It's easy to use. It's just like Vegas. You make money. All right, that we can agree to. We can work that in.
I was thinking about getting a new car for the 52nd consecutive week, and I went to CarMax. Have you been?
You haven't made a trip out to CarMax? It's so convenient.
I
There's
literally
locations
go every
everywhere.
week just because I'm looking for that car that's perfect for me. And the CarMax people are always looking at, like.
Wait, I don't know if you know this, but you can actually set alerts at CarMax.com.
Get the fuck out of here.
It'll let you know. Okay. Well, we can't use that because you said fuck in the middle of it. So, all right, now we have to recut the show after the fact so we can send them the one that doesn't have fucking.
That was, you can't censor me. You can't stop me from it.
I'm very tired.
Yeah.
So,
let's
wow, we've gone an hour and 40 minutes now.
Woo.
How about that? So,
Well, that's intro and stuff too.
yes.
Anyway, you know where you can go to memorialize the decade?
Where's that?
OhTheAnthem.com. Core to OhTheAnthem.com. Oh, the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, at Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, everywhere. I probably did another movie review. It was probably Knives Out there for you to enjoy now. So go do that. And we'll technically have one more episode before 2019 is done.
Yes.
But it's the New Year's dropping one.
Yes.
So like I feel like hopefully nothing super big comes up in the next week that like changes the entire decade.
Do you remember that SNL skit where like Tom Brokaw wants to go on vacation, so he has to do all the death announcements before he goes, just in case? I feel like that's kind of what I always.
All the
worry
people
about
who are on the line.
Yeah. But yeah,
Sherman Carter died.
We will have one more episode this year, available on the 31st. So my challenge to you: think of some resolutions for 2020.
Okay.
Because by the way, 2020, the year that I was supposed to run for president.
You were supposed to be the Pete Buttigieg. I think that's why you like Pete so much.
It
is
could
that
be.
He's taking over your place as like the sensible Democrat who's just like, well, I got real plans here. We can't just do every.
So in my in an unedited portion of a review, I actually got to that. I like worked my way into a corner. And I was like, son of a bitch, Pete Buttigieg is just me.
Yeah.
Just like a sensible centrist Democrat who makes a lot of sense. Gay and
He was
married to a man. And,
He was definitely you in 2010.
oh, not anymore. Yeah. No, not anymore.
There was a place in 2010 where you could have followed the steps and you could have been Pete Buttigieg, but instead you're.
Oh, I 100% could have. Yeah. No, I ran a campaign in 2010.
Yeah.
I was running someone's campaign in 2010.
Yeah.
I was steps away. And then made a real hard turn to the left. And here we are.
Breaking the law.
But if you want to hear more from me, you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. As you're listening to this, we are in the heart of the 12 Days of Christmas reviews. Make sure you check that out at youtube.com/Rob Cheek. Normal episodes will be up as per usual twice a week, with the addition of a daily episode every single day for 12 consecutive days. My gift to you this holiday season. And of course, beyond all of that, you can find me, my website, robertncheek.com, where you can find links to the YouTube channel, to Oh the Anthem here, and to the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rod's books.
Thank you, sir.
Well, for the last time, not the last time this decade, but I think we're doing good here today.
We were just talking about how there's another episode this year.
I know.
Okay.
I think we've done good here this decade.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the Oh the Anthem podcast, part of the Oh the Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great 2020, everybody.
See you one day before it ends.
Rachel's getting restless.
If you guys hung out for both episodes, I don't know if anybody did. I can't tell. Or if you're watching the live video before we take it down when a new episode goes up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. And come back for more, not just next week, but all 2020 long. You'll be able to find us at all of these places: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, via Periscope, and on Twitch. Make sure you're following us everywhere for new episodes. But thank you for a fantastic 2019. We're looking forward to a lot more fun in 2020.
Deuces.